Hello, and welcome to the Proving Grounds. We're trying to help the Mechstermination force get a few wizards to join the military force today. They need some of the backup. They just got one guy taking these things out, so feel free to put an application in. But we're talking about the Mechstermination force today, and this is the Switch version. It's also on PS4 and Steam. As far as I know, no DRM free, not on Xbox One. I was described this game as Metal Slug meets Shadow Colossus. Personally, I'd say Contra meets Shadow Colossus with a bit of Bionic vibe in there a wee bit, but that's just me. Either way, it's a 2D shooting game. You play as a soldier, and over the course of the game, you'll get the ability to climb and double jump around. There was no side-scrolling aspect of fighting, like 50-ish enemies and then the boss. It's just you and bosses. It's a boss rush game. Story's pretty much non-existent. The planet's being affected by mechs attacking, and you're going out there. There's not really much outside of that. There's not really even much conclusion to all that. We'll get into that at the end when we go over spoilers. So it's definitely about the bosses. The bosses. This is a co-op experience also. No online on Switch. Don't know on Steam on PS4. However, they have share play systems, so you can always use those. But you'll pick a skin. You can get access to different guns. You start out with a generic machine gun. You get money clearing out bosses. You can redo bosses to get more money, so you unlock more guns, flamethrower, a beam gun, bomb spread shot, few. You can also increase your maximum health permanently or temporary. Temporary is cheaper, and permanent is, well, obviously permanent, but it gets very expensive quickly. So the more health, permanent health you want, like it's like I think 60,000 for me. Yeah, it's 60,000 for the next heart for me. So it gets up there in the price, and the return value starts diminishing because when you replay a match, you certainly don't get as much. Though how the game progresses, you are at your base, you get sent out on missions, and that base does have a few corridors in the shop where you get your stuff at. The corridors don't really add much. Like I said, the story is just there. It's not the details of the game. It's not the main draw of the game at all. It's pretty much non-existent. It's just you, giant mechs, and figuring out how to take them out. Now, you can climb and double jump as you progress through the story. Those get unlocked, making it easier to move, or because some of these bosses get fucking huge, and you will be shadow colossing the fuck around with your metal gloves, trying to find the weaknesses and stuff. Now, your primary objective with every mech boss is to find the weaknesses, which will be red and yellow buttons. Red buttons can only be taken out with a melee hit, so you're going to have to go and take those out. I think yellow ones can be hit with melee, but they can be destroyed with gunfire. I don't think I've ever really attacked a yellow one with melee, so I don't know if they'll gunfire only to be off the top of my head, but either way, you should just use your gunfire anyway, because range is better in most cases. So generally, and you deal with a lot more red buttons than yellow buttons, so generally you'll have to work your way to how to get to the red button by destroying parts of the boss, sometimes disconnecting the limbs and things, blowing up parts so you can get in there and get a whack with your melee weapon. Now, how to put this? One slight complaint I have with how the controls are for the game is you have one button that goes through all your gun types. Now, you have jump, shoot, your swing button, which are all three buttons, and then you have a button that allows you to hang on to metal stuff and fall, and when you shoot, it keeps you stationary. So, because you can run and gun at all the angles, but obviously if you want to say like shoot at an angle but not move, you can hold the crouch button that allows you to fall and hold on to things, and when you fire you can stay there in that stationary angle. There is no way to like keep your gun locked in a certain position like some of these games sometimes do. That's not an option. Would have been nice to maybe have it as an option, but primarily what I want to complain about is on the Switch that leaves 3 shoulder buttons. All 4 shoulder buttons do the crouch that hold on the middle objects. I think it would have been nice to at least make 2 of them. Maybe like quick buttons for your favorite guns. So you could just hit it and go to your favorite gun. Because I'm never a fan of having to, like, let's say I'm at the flamethrower and then I have to cycle all the way around to get back to my OG rifle. Like, I hate that sometimes, especially when you have a massive variety of guns. I would have liked to have 1 or 2 hotkeys to swap to my favorite guns a little faster. Better for a few situational things, if you know what I mean. Especially if you're going for that best time 3 stars on all stages. You can equip the guns that you feel are going to meet your strategy best so you can swap between them faster. But nothing like that's in the game. There's not really anything you can do with the options on Switch. You can mess with the volume, the language, and markers on the players, because, like I said, some of these bosses are huge, so it zooms out a bit, so helps you keep track of where you are a wee bit. But those are some minor little complaints. Other complaints, aesthetically, like, the aesthetics just kind of rub me wrong. Like, they're not, like, bad. I mean, they do the job, but usually cartoony or cel shady type looks are usually good at, you know, keeping a game looking nice. It gives it an aesthetic that helps it be unique and stand out. The characters just look very plain to me. Now the bosses are really nicely designed, and honestly, that's really where the game focuses, honestly. But yeah, all the characters at the base are very dry and plain looking, and they're just, they don't, it doesn't really stand out to me. It has a very colorful, cartoony look. It just, I don't know, it just seems very plain to me. It just doesn't shoot out like, be like, you look at it, it doesn't make me go, oh, that game. Feel like if 20 years passed and you showed me 2 of the characters, I probably wouldn't necessarily spring out and be like, ah, that. But the designs of the bosses are really good in this game. I did enjoy them. The system of going for the weaknesses gives you a clear goal every time. You don't have to worry about bizarre things. The only thing that ever superly changes is the final stage, adding a little aspect difference there. I'll go into that further in when we get to like spoiler details of that. Music serviceable. There were a few tracks I really did like. Massive Destruction, I think, was really good in my opinion. That's probably my favorite track in the game. It's probably my favorite stage also, because I kind of like, it's probably the only stage that really shows much change in the story aspect in relation to the characters. Outside of that. But I liked the scenario of that stage of that, so that's probably my favorite stage as well. I think that was mission 10, no, that was mission 8. And that was a pretty decent boss too. That's like insanely hard, but not also super fucking easy until you learn how it works. Pretty nice balance though, really, when you think about it. Now, difficulty wise, depending on your skill, like, this could be super easy for you, or bitch out. Like, I'm not the greatest at what. Like, I love Metal Slug games, but I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I could be a whole Metal Slug X in like 1 life, bro. Like, I probably got like fucking 80 deaths in those. I love Metal Slug games, but I am horrible at them. If I played those in Wii arcade machines, oh boy, would I be fucking boy. Oh, thank the Lord for the thought. Thank the Lord. Oh. But yeah, there were a few stages I had to redo a few times learning the bosses, and personally, I believe it was 12 is, in my opinion, the hardest boss in the game, while 14 is the easiest. 13 is also the only one I 3-starred, oddly enough. Very, very odd, considering, like, I mean, the first stage is, like, really fucking easy, even blind your first time. But 12 to me was the hardest. Though the final boss is a pretty good fight itself. It's a pretty hard one, too. But also, you know, depending on your skills and what you're good at, and that, you may have a different opinion on which ones are hard and easy and such that. But overall, it's a pretty good game. If you got a co-op partner, I definitely can recommend it. Even by yourself, it's decent, but I wouldn't say it's like rush down to the store get. Definitely, if you're looking just for something to play while waiting for some other releases, it definitely can fulfill your boss rushy needs. Now, personally, the only other thing I'd really like to add is I would have liked to have a few one-and-gun stages. I mean, personally, I enjoy games like Contra and Metal Slug. I suck at them. I suck at them terribly, so when you have a very limited lifespan, it gets hard for me. But get that Contra code, or just have infinite continues, I can have some good fun. But I would have liked in some one-gun stages. And by the way, before you're like, oh, you suck, I beat Contra's arcade version on the 360 without dying. So take that, nerds! But honestly, Contra 1, once you know what you do, is actually, until like the very end, pretty actually good. Like, you'd be amazed how well you can actually just learn pretty much all of it until the end. That part gets a little bit more tricky. But anyway, I'm like detouring here. Yeah, I would have liked it some one-gun stages. Plus, it would have been a nice way to cool down if you, like, let's say, you know, you've just been stuck on this one boss 10 times. Because you only get, like, at most, like, 3 missions available. Sometimes you just only literally have 1 mission available before you can progress forward. And then, like, you know, if you're just doing that boss over and 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 over again, like you're playing Cave Stories Hell mode, you know, a nice little break could be a nice way to kind of relax and kind of chill and like, okay, I feel refreshed, way to try this again. But there aren't any, so personally I wouldn't mind some. If maybe they do a sequel or something for this, maybe something to keep in mind. But to be fair, you know, when Cuphead put those kind of stages in, because Cuphead is also a boss rush game, but it was originally supposed to be 100% a boss rush game, and then some people were saying like they wanted some, you know, one-gun stages, so they had some one-gun stages in between a lot of the bosses. And some people who just want pure boss rush games complain about that. So obviously you're never going to make everyone happy. That's always the important thing to keep in mind, these kind of things. You know, obviously I would have liked some one-gun stages. Probably would have also gave the game a little bit more time, because after you do all the missions, there's nothing else to really be done. So what you see is pretty much what you get then. Would I recommend it overall though? Like I said, I think it's a good game to check out. If it looks interesting to you, check it out. It's not very expensive. Digitally, it's $11.99 across all 3 platforms I mentioned: Steam, Switch, and PS4. So it's not very expensive. Value-wise, what would I give the game? I think I would give it a $10 price tag, $9.99. Which, I mean, it's not that far off, so it's not really like saying it's bad. But, I mean, like I said, it's a pretty short experience at the same time, so you're not looking at a super long thing. Honestly, if it probably had a few one-and-gun stages and maybe had a little more memorable design outside the mechs, I probably would give it more of a 15 range. But, you know, like I said, it's all serviceable. It's not like it's broken or anything. I didn't experience any bugs or any issues or anything weird with the game, so It's all functioning. It's all good. So that's all nice and dandy and all that. And those are my thoughts on the game there. So let's go into spoilers. Not that it's going to be very long. Usually when I get into the spoiler section, I blab a lot more, but I think you'll find this will be very short because basically there's no real fucking conclusion to the story. You're like, they find the source of where the mechs or like being like summoned from or something like that. It's a satellite thing you have to fight, and the satellite thing brings all the parts of all the mechs you fought together to make a gigantic thing in space. Now in this mission, you're in a flying ship thing, and it lets you float all around the boss. So you're moving up, down, left, right, all the directions, all through space. So there's really no jumping, there's just fluttering and thrusting around in space while trying to shoot this thing. Fairly odd boss, because like you have to destroy so many parts of it to get the satellite to be vulnerable, to hit it and stuff. But after you do that, it just ends there and never like, who was behind it all? Was it aliens? Was it one of the countries on Earth? Who the hell knows? I don't know. It's just kind of left there, and like I said, the story obviously is just there for the sake of being there. It's literally not a drawing point, but you know, I just feel like it's, you know, it's a review, you know, I'm supposed to say this. It just feels like one of the weaknesses of the game. So no, yeah, there's no real conclusion or anything. When you hop back in the game, the character's all set to the dialogue before you go off to fight the satellite, so there's no conclusion or anything to it. That's really the only thing I want to say. There's no like new modes or anything unlocked after that I'm aware of. That no secret endings or anything, you know. So yeah, once you're done, unless you want to get like higher rankings than that, that's pretty much it. And that's all she told. So that's pretty much it. So if you got any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below or send me a message on Twitch if you're on Twitch. If you feel like you learned anything interesting, feel free to leave a like. And if you feel like you learned nothing at all, blowing your torch at the worthless people at your base, like I said, just sitting around, feel free to leave a dislike. Feel free. Until next time, have a good time and chill.